Welcome to WebRTC Live. In WebRTC Live, we cover the latest technical topics and business use cases for WebRTC and live video. As always, this episode is brought to you by WebRTC.Ventures, leading integrators of WebRTC video into your custom application.
Welcome back to WebRTC Live. I'm your host, Aaron Syme, founder and CEO of WebRTC.Ventures. WebRTC.Ventures is a custom design and development firm specializing in live video applications. We're here to help you take your video application live. You can learn more about us at WebRTC.Ventures. For today's episode, I'm joined by DuBois from Pion. Sean's a developer at Amazon Web Services, but is here today with us as a creator of Pion. And Sean will be sharing with us some details about that open source platform and a demo of the open source Pion WebRTC stack. So thanks a lot for joining us, Sean.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for having me. I'm excited to come and talk about it and hopefully convince people it's something fun and something to build with.
Yeah, I think it definitely will be. Had a chance to say this is recording of you doing a presentation around this at Cranky Geek recently as well. And for anyone who hasn't checked that out and all the other videos from Cranky Geek, those are always highly recommended. So definitely looking forward to you expanding on that some in our short time together today, Sean, and seeing a little demo. So the screen is yours. Go ahead and take us through Pion.
Cool. So yeah, so let's if you've never used Pion before, I'll just run through the like the basics. I assume everyone on here is experts on WebRTC, and so we'll skip over that part. And first off, I'd like to thank everyone that contributes. If Pion is completely an open source project, so there's no company or commercial background around it. So these are some of the people that have helped out, and I'd like to thank everyone that's done that. I think it's really important, and I'm always looking to pull more people in. So if you're interested in contributing, this is something great to get involved in, and you can learn a lot more about WebRTC along the way. So it's a collective for RTC. So it's not just limited to doing a WebRTC implementation. We also have a Turn implementation, and there's more stuff I want to do in the future. And so we're always looking to pull people in. And these are some of the technologies we've had to solve along the way. So if you care just about the WebRTC implementation, it's in pure Go. And so along the way, we had to implement and figure out all these technologies. So we had to do a DTLS implementation, an SCTP, an SRTP. So this kitchen sink of acronyms we had to make work. And that's a bit. And then we also, after this, if you want to chat, I'm available on the pion.ly/Slack. We have about 400 members of our community so far, and a handful of active ones, and we'd love to have you come. And if you just want to talk about general WebRTC stuff, we'd love to have you. So if you've done WebRTC stuff before, this is, I think, what stands out or what is different is the first time you jump in, it's fast, and both the actual applications and both like your build times. I think this is super important, especially for small teams and startups. If you're trying to build something, you want to get off the ground quickly. You want to build your first application and not have to learn a bunch along the way. And so I'll show later, like from scratch, what that looks like. But what I can do is I can type just go get and then the code, and it'll build the entire code base, and it takes like under a second. And then from there, because it's so easy to build, it's very easy to optimize and jump in and play around with and learn. And then it's portable. So you build your code base, and if you're like, oh, I get it great working in one place, all of a sudden you compile it to all these other places. So we have people that go out to like more embedded devices. We have people that are doing big background servers and a bunch of stuff like that. And then, so Pion itself, if you've used WebRTC, it should feel exactly like what you're used to. You have the create peer connection, the create offer, set remote description. You're all used to that. Like the goal is you should be able to jump in and just use it right away and be able to switch off to a alternative if you find out it doesn't work for you. I think it's super important that if Pion doesn't serve your need, you can switch to something else like AIO RTC or raw RTC or just another WebRTC implementation. Like, I want to encourage people to jump between those. There's nothing worse than like buying into something and then realizing that it doesn't fit your needs, or if something happens, I don't want people's code bases to be locked into something that that they don't like. And then this is a great one, is since everything else is split up into little packages, it's super easy to debug and super easy to jump into one little component. Like you'll have people in the channel and they'll have a bug just in ICE, and they're able to just check out the ICE package, run the unit tests. You can set an environment variable so that only there's debug printing in the ICE package. I think that's super helpful. If you've ever debugged anything before, to be able to only dump the ICE traffic when you know everything else is great is super helpful. And it's also great, you can just roll back a single package. If you have a bug just in ICE, it shouldn't hold you back from developing other things. And yeah, so I think those are the big ones. I think we'll jump into actually building something. So I can share my terminal, and let's, I'll talk you through the full life cycle of building something. So this is a completely blank workspace. I'm just cloning this code base for the first time and jump into it. So I've never done anything before in this code base, and for me, it is as simple as doing a go run main.go. And by doing that, it will actually go out and start up the entire server. So now I have a server that's running directly on my, my machine. And I will share my web browser so we can see what that looks like. So we'll show a little demo of what this actually is, and then we'll talk through what we're actually doing. So all this is that I came up with, we want to have like a web voicemail. So someone can come to our website and hit a button and they can leave us a voicemail. So I hit start voicemail. It's now we've spun up an RTC peer connection, and it's recording what I'm saying. You can tell up in the tab that we're listening, and that's it. And so I'll switch back to my terminal in a second, but what it's done is it's saved our voicemail. It's now we've spun up a little voicemail thing. So now we have this fun little thing that I can go to a website, and you can put on your website, people can leave you voicemails, and it prints it out to my terminal that got an Opus track, saved in the disk as voicemail, blah, blah, blah. So we build our little web voicemail, but now let's figure out how we actually did it, how many lines of code. So in total, this whole application is 100 lines of Go code, and my front end is 30 lines of code. And that's how easy it was to deploy. Like I just did a go get, pulled it down, and what does it actually look like? So I'll jump through. I think where we want to start is with like the main of our application. Like how do we actually dive in and start everything? So Go has a built-in HTTP server, and this is as simple as it is. You register handlers for your routes. So here's my route, here's my create voicemail function, and that's it. I call HTTP listen and serve on 8080, and now we're listening. So that's the really easy part. The hard part is, okay, so now we have this thing that that has these two handlers, and let's look at our create voicemail. So our create voicemail is what the front end actually posts to, and we'll go look at that next. And this comes in and it posts our session description. We deserialize it. We use a JSON decoder, and we just decode that JSON blob right into the session description. Here is what you're actually used to. So here's new peer connection, like you're used to in WebRTC. Here we set an on track. So we create our peer connection, we set our on track handler, and then here's where we get into like the proprietary code of Pion. Because we're not hooked into get user media exactly, we have in the on track, we get the actual raw RTP packets. And Pion, all you're doing is in a loop I call read RTP. And to an OGG file, I just call WriteRTP. And the OGG file is just a little helper package that comes with Pion, which is we have the ability to save video frames and save audio frames to disk. And so we give you this prepackaged thing. And so all that I've done here is I set a on track. In that on track, I start like draining the RTP packets, and I push those RTP packets onto an OGG file. And so every time I have an opus come in, I just start reading. So, and then here outside the on track is hopefully an API that looks similar, is we have an add transceiver call. So for each audio track that we want to accept, we have to add a transceiver, and then it also looks the same if we want to add any outgoing. We call set remote description, we call create answer, and then with our create answer, we serialize it to JSON and return it. And that's the entirety of what this file is. We have the handler that serves the index.html, and we have a post that takes then the offer from the other side and sets it on track. And then our front end code is we create a peer connection, we post to our endpoint, and we take in our remote description and we set it, and that's it. And that's the entirety of what we do here. So hopefully I didn't jump around too much. This code is on the Pion GitHub right now. The project is called WebRTC voicemail, and you can go and fetch this right now and play with it, and it should just build. You can, if you have Go, all you do is git clone this repo, and then you go run start.go, and it will run everything, and it should just work. It's pinned to the version of Pion that's master right now, and you can start playing with it. So check it out. It's definitely something fun to play with. So yeah. So that's it.
That's really cool, Sean, and I think it's pretty remarkable that you can do a comprehensive demo, compilation, code walkthrough, all in the space of about 10 minutes. So that certainly speaks really well to it. So yeah, this is super cool, and I appreciate you putting that up on GitHub already. So it's a little bit of homework for everybody watching today to go check out Pion on GitHub and download the voicemail example, play around with that, and any of the other examples that they have for Pion. So for those watching, if you have any questions about what you've seen in the demo, feel free to just put those in the chat. We'll make sure that Sean gets a chance to answer those. Sean, tell us a little bit about how Pion's being used now and any sort of deployments that you're able to discuss.
So I think the power of Pion, one of the big ones I think comes with the portability. So a company that uses it called Strive, and they do a CDN via data channels. And so the idea is that they have, let's say that you're inside a corporate network and you have super slow download, but the communication inside the network is really fast. What they do is they will have, like, one of their phone clients will go out and download this video file, this MP4, and then once it's downloaded inside the network, they'll share all of the files via data channels to each other inside the same network. And so this is kind of this unique setup where they want to do a CDN, but they do it all over data channels. And so they need the portability, they need to get on all of these platforms. And so they're using Pion, and they're able to, with one code base, compile out to ARM. They also do their website, and they also do, I believe, desktop. They do Windows and Linux, and all from a single code base. And I think so that's like the really powerful story. I think that if you're looking for something that does existing conferencing, I think that space is really well solved. I think Pion is what you come to when you have like a unique problem that isn't solved by anyone else now. Like, we try to bring a unique vision to how we build things.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I think that's a great observation to make. Certainly, there are plenty of meeting tools out there, and a lot of certainly the early days of WebRTC development were very focused on that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, having a framework that better serves some more unique use cases, I think, is great. In the process of building this out, what's been the most surprising thing that you've learned?
One of the things that I learned the most was the importance of the data channel. So I came in, my background was in media. I started off my career like doing Asterisk stuff. I got into the WebRTC space in like 2015, and I spoke RTP. That was it. I knew nothing about data channels. And what really surprised me is how much demand there is actually for it. Existing WebRTC solutions, they're very media heavy, and so they're difficult to build, and they come with codecs and things like that. It's not what people really want. And so we've been working with projects like IPFS or Tor, and it's just, I think that's the one that surprised me the most, is how much possibility there is there for that peer-to-peer binary data. I think that's the real power. And I think that's like, for me, that's like the WebRTC now +1.
Right.
When the data channels become so easy to use and they really take off, I think that's when we're going to see a huge explosion in the WebRTC space, especially like those IoT and embedded devices.
Yeah.
You have a fridge and a light bulb. You have all these devices talking to each other in your house. To have like easy peer-to-peer binary data, I think that's when you're going to see the usage go through the roof.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think in some way, when we think about like the sort of the evolution of WebRTC in general, the original pitch has always been, look how easy it is now to do live video in your browser, and that's awesome. In a way, maybe it limited a little bit the way we thought about the use cases by only thinking about pure video things or the initial work being so much around meeting tools. And I definitely think that if you just need a generic meeting tool, there's plenty of those on the market. We don't need to build more of those. But there's so many situations and use cases like IoT or just specific workflows that would benefit from having the video directly integrated into it and sharing data beyond just the video, that I think that, WebRTC, +1, kind of as you described it, is really all about doing something more than the video, where the video is enabling something around it. And that thing around it benefits from having the video directly integrated, but it's the two of them together, and therefore more use of the data channel. I agree. I've always thought that would be a big growth area that we're still really seeing come to fruition. So as mature as WebRTC is in many ways, there's still a lot of potential for growth, especially in those use cases around it and with the data channels. So that has definitely not been realized to its potential yet.
Yeah, no, I think it's like it's in that conferencing space. Like, people have really conquered it. Like LibWebRTC is just amazing with all the things it does with the echo cancellation and whatnot. But it's like those things that people don't care about that are really exciting. That in the broadcast space.
Yeah,
the one to many. Like, I was very like, one of the eureka moments where this is exciting is when I saw Mixer, or it was called Beam.pro at the time. Like, the fact that they would do WebRTC for you to watch live video, and they could have like sub-second latency. I was like, wow, this is like a really unique, interesting technology. It's not like, hey, let's jump 4 people in a room and talk to each other. We can blast out, to thousands of users in sub-second time in the browser, so it works across all these platforms. Like, that's what got me excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So any, great thing about this being open source, and you mentioned contributors to it, thanking them at the beginning. And I know I was impressed. You said you have about 400 members in the community on Slack for this. That's excellent. Are there any particular areas that you're hoping to see developers contribute in the future?
The next one I want to get into is it's a project called RTP Engine. We want to add congestion control and better loss handling and stuff like that. If you're interested in that space, we'd love to have you. That's one that's definitely interesting. And then actually, I think the most important is getting feedback from people. It's surprising at how hard it is to get bug reports from people, and you find out things are very obviously broken that people have hit, but they just don't report to you.
Sure.
So I invite people that if you hit a bug, like, please do share. Like, we're always trying to be better. So we have like testers running across a bunch of different platforms, and we have like 80% test coverage, but we constantly still hit things. So like, I invite people, like, join the Slack and And I'm free. If you want to just vent and complain and tell me what can be better, I'd love to hear, because I put a lot of effort into it. So I want to hear what people want. So I think that's the most important thing. I have no problem doing the work. It's when you don't know what people want. I'm definitely not doing any market research or anything. I'm but a simple developer.
Well, a very community-minded developer, Sean. I definitely will vouch for that from our conversations, leading up to this episode. Definitely vouch to our viewers that Sean is really interested to hear from you, to get more community feedback on Pion, and really open to that. So I think that, I think if you want to contribute to this, if you're interested by what you've seen so far, there is something, I think, for everybody, right? If you want to get into the RTP engine stuff, go for it, or just use it and give some of the feedback and bug reports is super helpful in growing a community. And Sean, I'm really impressed with what you've done here. As a members of the WebRTC community ourselves, really grateful to you for what you're doing. I think it's very cool. We'll definitely be checking it out more ourselves. And any final comments you want to make before we wrap up here?
No, I want to touch like what you said with community. I think with Pion, I fully anticipate that someday the Pion WebRTC code base will be archaic and people will complain about it and it'll be old. I think one of the big goals, I want to create a community for WebRTC. Like right now, if you want to go talk to people, there's not really a place to go. You can go on the mailing list maybe, but the odds of you getting a response are pretty low. If you just want to talk to people, I'm available in the Slack, and there's a lot of other people. So I hope that this community that I create, that even if Pion the code itself doesn't go somewhere, that the people that meet each other or that talk to each other, that they can go do something great next. The best part is now in total, I've gotten 3 people have gotten jobs out of contributing to Pion, and only one of them is actually working on Pion code. The other 2 are doing general WebRTC. But I think that's the most exciting part, is all the relationships I've made and like the ideas that have started out of like talking about all this stuff. So I encourage you to join. It's not just about the code. So I appreciate that how much you understand that part.
No, thank you. And that's awesome. Getting some people hired through this is excellent. All right, great. And so I think that wraps up for today. Thanks again for joining us, Sean. For our viewers out there, in addition to Crowdcast and being able to watch a replay of this on Crowdcast, we'll also be posting slightly edited video of this to WebRTC Ventures and YouTube next week. And if you want to keep up with our upcoming events, this is the last one of 2019, but we're looking forward to continuing the WebRTC Live series next year. So you can join our email list at WebRTC Ventures or follow us on Crowdcast to find out about those. So Sean, thanks again for your time. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for joining us today, and let's make it live.
Thanks for joining us for WebRTC Live. Visit our website at WebRTC.ventures to learn more about our custom design and development services, and to learn more about upcoming episodes of WebRTC Live.